weather is getting a bit chilly, and I want to help you warm up in a cute and fashionable way by creating your own crochet cowl. The chainway cowl is a cozy yet delicate accessory perfect for adding a touch of elegance to your winter wardrobe. For this pattern, you're going to need approximately 260 yards of worsted weight yarn, a K or 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. You may also need a H or 5 millimeter crochet hook if you are going to crochet your own tie to create the corset detail, or you can use something like sueded cord or ribbon, a tapestry needle, scissors, and measuring tape. For the gauge for this pattern, you're going to want to use double crochet stitches. You're going to need to get 12 stitches in 4 inches and 8 rows in 4 inches. If it takes you fewer stitches and rows to make 4 inches, try using a smaller size hook. And if it takes more stitches and rows, try a larger size hook. We will also be hitting some measurements, so as long as you get as close as possible to the gauge size, you should be able to adjust for those measurements. For this video, I will be showing you how to make the adult size cowl. This pattern also includes sizes for toddler child. They're combined because they're very similar sizes. And it also includes a hood pattern and then instructions on how to connect your cowl to your hood to make a hooded cowl. All of those are available for free on my blog, but for this video, we will just be making the adult size cowl, though the techniques work for any of the sizes or items. We'll be starting our pattern off with a chain, so we need to first make a slip knot with our yarn. I make my slip knot by placing my tail over my yarn, bringing it back around behind the yarn, and then you'll have this loop to the right side, and we'll just put the tail through that and pull. You now have a movable slip knot, and we'll go ahead and put our hook in that, pull it tightly, and we can begin our chain. We are going to go ahead and chain 35. And once you have 35 chains, we will go ahead and begin row 1. For row 1, we are going to double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. I like to make sure that I use the back bumps of the chain, so you've got your V on one side and you have these bumps on the back. I like to use those because when we seam our cowl together to make it a full circle, we're going to use those stitches. So now double crochet in each chain across. Okay, and that's the end of row 1, and you can see that on this bottom part I have the very nice clean stitches because I worked into those back bumps, so we can use that later. You should, at the end of row 1, have 33 double crochet stitches. For row 2, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and we're going to just double crochet in each stitch across. And there's our last stitch. And that's the end of row 2, and for row 2 you should have 33 stitches again. And now we will begin row 3, which will again be a chain 2 to begin. Turn your work and place a double crochet in each stitch across. And this is going to be one of the places that you want to stop and check your measurements to make sure that you're on track. Even if you met gauge, I think this is a good place to stop and just double check. So you want your piece to measure approximately 11 inches wide here. If it is smaller than that, you can add stitches. If it's bigger, you can remove stitches, but you're going to want to do it in multiples of 4 so that our stitch pattern we use later still works. This stitch count also has to do with the height of your cowl. So if you wanted to adjust for a fit preference, this is also where you would do that. If you wanted to have a taller cowl, you would add more stitches in multiples of 4. If you wanted your cowl to actually be shorter, you would remove stitches in multiples of 4. And now for row 4, again, we're going to chain 2. We're going to turn our work and place a double crochet in each stitch across for a total of 33. And that's the end of row 4. And again, you should have 33 stitches. Now for row 5, we are going to chain 1, turn your work. And this one, we are going to single crochet front loop only all the way across. So you have your V of your stitches. We're going to work into the front loop only of the stitches and place a single crochet in each one of those. So you'll see you have your V for your stitch. You're going to go into just that front loop of that V, and we're going to leave that back loop unworked. And we'll do that all the way across. All right, and now you should have 33 stitches. On the opposite side of your work, you should see these loops that we left unworked sitting on the front of your fabric. All right, and now we'll move on to row 6. Row 6 is when we are going to start working our pattern stitch. So chain 2, turn your work, double crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. So 1, 2. Then we are going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet each of the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we are going to repeat that, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet the next 3, 6 more times for a total of 7 of that repeat. So chain 1, skip 1, double crochet the next 3. There's the second repeat of that, and you'll see we're creating these holes. All right, so now 5 more times, work all the way across. And this is our 7th and last repeat. And you should have 3 more stitches left. So then we are going to chain 1, skip 1, and then double crochet the last 2 stitches. You should have 33 stitches, and I am counting those chains as stitches at the end of row 6. And now we will move on to row 7. For row 7, we'll chain 2, turn our work, and we're going to do exactly the same thing we just did for row 6. So we'll double crochet the first 2 stitches, and then we will work 7 repeats of chain 1, skip 1. This time we're going to skip that chain below because it counts as a stitch, as I just said. So 7 times, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet 3. And once you've finished those 7 repeats, you should have 3 stitches remaining. We'll chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the last 2 stitches. And that is the end of row 7, and you should have, again, 33 stitches. And now we will begin row 8, and row 8 is where we will be working our special stitch, which is a spike stitch, and I'll show you how to do that. So to begin, we'll chain 2, turn our work, double crochet in the first 2 stitches, And this is where we are going to place our spike stitch. Now a spike stitch is worked exactly like a double crochet. It's just the placement of the stitch and height of the stitch which is different. For this pattern, we'll yarn over and we're going to insert our hook into the chain space from 2 rows below. So not into this one that we made in row 7, but into this one from row 6. Insert our hook, bring up a loop, and we're going to just shimmy it, pull it, whatever you need to do up to the height of the row we're working on. And then we will work a double crochet just like normal. You'll see that this creates this long bar that's worked down into the row below. And then we will double crochet into the next stitch. Then we will chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet. So we're going to be creating another 3-stitch repeat with a space between, but now we're using one of the stitches will now be a spike stitch. So now we're going to do another spike stitch. So we'll yarn over, insert our hook into that chain space from 2 rows below, bring our stitch up to the level of the row we're on, and complete as a double crochet. Next we will double crochet. And there we have 2 spike stitches so far. So now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that pattern across of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, spike stitch, double crochet. We will repeat that 6 more times. And you should have 1 stitch remaining there at the end, and we are going to double crochet in that. And again, you will have a total of 33 stitches, and our first row of spike stitches is complete. And you can see it just makes this nice little texture change in the fabric. All right, and now we will do row 9. For row 9, we're going to chain 1, 2, turn your work, double crochet the first 4 stitches, and now we've come to the chain space that we made during our spike stitch row, and here we're going to start a repeat of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet 3. We will do that repeat 7 times all the way across. And this is the last repeat, and when we're done with that 7th repeat, you should have 1 stitch remaining, and we are simply going to place a double crochet in that last stitch for the end of this row, and you should have 33 stitches. Okay, and now we will begin row 10. For row 10, we're going to chain 2, turn your work. First, we'll double crochet in each of the first 2 stitches, and then we will chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and then we are going to place a spike stitch now that we've got those 2 chain spaces open. So again, a spike stitch, yarn over, insert your hook into the chain space from 2 rows below, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, just like you would a regular double crochet, and then double crochet the next. We will repeat that same sequence, so chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, spike stitch, double crochet, and you'll see that this set of spike stitch is going in between. They're staggered from the ones below. All right, we're going to repeat that 5 more times across for a total of 7 repeats of that. And when you get to the end, you should have 3 stitches remaining. So we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet each of the last 2 stitches. And that is the end of row 10, and you should again have 33 stitches. And you can now see that we've got 2 rows of those spike stitches, so you can see that pattern starting to emerge. And now we will do row 11. For row 11, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, double crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then we are going to start a repeat of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet 3, and we will do that repeat 7 times across. And there is our 7th repeat, and after finishing that we should have 3 stitches remaining, and we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet the last 2 to finish off this row, and again you should have 33 stitches. And now for row 12. Row 12, we'll chain 2 to begin, turn our work. This is another spike stitch row, so we're going to double crochet the first 2 stitches, then we will place a spike stitch, double crochet the next stitch, then we will start a repeat of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, spike stitch, double crochet, and we make that repeat 7 times across. And that's our 7th repeat, and at the end of that 7th repeat you should have 1 stitch left, and you're just going to place a double crochet in that stitch to finish off this row, and you should have 33 stitches. And now you'll see that we have again staggered, and this is going to be the pattern that continues up. We're going to continue to stagger those spike stitches like that. And now we'll do row 13. So row 13, we will begin with chaining 2, turn our work. We're going to double crochet the first 4 stitches, and then we will start our repeat of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet 3, and we will make that repeat 7 times across. And then our 7th repeat, and once you finish that 7th repeat you should have 1 stitch left, and we will place a stitch in that, and again you should have 33 stitches. All right, now that we've gotten here, we've worked a full set of repeats to create that staggered stitched pattern. So now for rows 14 through 53, we are just simply going to repeat rows 10 through 13 and continue to create this staggered spike stitch pattern all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and put those rows up on the screen now for you to pause on, and I will meet you back here at row 53 where we can take our measurements and then move on to the next steps. If you would like to walk through this 4-row repeat one more time, the timestamp to go to row 10 is here. And once you get to row 53, this is another place that we are going to stop, and we're going to measure our piece to make sure that we're on track for our size. At row 53, your piece should be 30 inches long. I can't really show you in my video, but it should be 30 inches long. If it's not 30 inches long, you're going to go ahead and add rows in multiples of 2. If you're over 30 inches long, go ahead and remove rows in multiples of 2. And if your measurements are okay, we are going to fasten off here. You want to cut your yarn a little bit long because we are going to sew our cowl together right here. So how we're going to seam our cowl together, we are going to put our wrong sides together. And now you'll be able to tell which side is the wrong side and which is the right side, because the right side is going to have those back loops from row 5 on it. So this is going to be your right side. So we'll put our wrong sides together and fold it in half lengthwise so that our short ends are together. We are then going to use that long tail that we left to sew this closed and form our cowl. And we're going to do that in a very specific way, because what we need to do is we need to leave on this side the front loops exposed again, because we are going to use these loops to create our lace stays. The lace stays are where we work our laces through to create the corset effect. So what we're going to do to make that possible is we are going to go through both stitches of our last row that we did. Go through the whole stitch of the last row we did, and then this was why I had you work into that back bump and leave those clean stitches underneath on our beginning chain, because we're going to just go through the front loop for us and leave that other loop on our right side of our work. So again, we'll go, and I like to go through each one twice because I just like to make sure things are very very nice and secure. Again, go through the whole stitch of the last row and then just that front loop of the beginning chain. So again, the whole stitch, this is our last row, the whole stitch of the last row, and just the front loop of the beginning chain. Whole stitch, front loop. Whole stitch, front loop. And you'll see that when we go flat, that those loops are still there and they match like on this side. All right, and we need to do that all the way down, all 33 stitches. All right, and once you have seamed all of those together, you can go ahead and lay your piece flat and your cowl is closed. And you'll see that you have loops right here and loops right here. And we are going to use those to create our lace stays, which is what we run your cord or ribbon or whatever you're going to use to create a corset effect through. So let's go ahead and create those. So to create our lace stays, we're actually going to hold our cowl sideways so that the folded edge is towards you or towards the floor, whichever way you need to visualize it. And we are going to be working into the loops that we left exposed when we did row 5. You'll take your hook and your yarn, and we are going to attach to the loop furthest to the right. We'll chain 1, and then we are simply going to single crochet in each of the 33 loops across. And there is 33, and that's it. That's the first side of our lace stay finished. We'll go ahead and fasten off here, and we'll create the opposite side. For the opposite side, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to flip it over. So there's the side we just finished. We're going to flip it over, and starting in the loop furthest from the right, we will attach our yarn and single crochet across. So attach our yarn furthest to the right, chain 1, and single crochet in each loop across. So it'd be 33 loops. There's 32 and there's 33. And that is our second lace stay. So you can fasten off again. So now if you lay your cowl flat, you should have these 2 rows of single crochet. They should have slightly a lean in. If they don't, it's really not a big deal because we are going to lace through them, and they'll get pulled in anyways. So that is our lace stays. And now to finish off our cowl, we are going to add an edge to the top and the bottom. Okay, now for the edge. I like to attach in the back, but you can really attach anywhere you like. If you want to attach at one of the lines in the front, you can, but just attach your yarn to any of the sides of the double crochet rows that you want to. Attach your yarn. Make sure you have the right side facing you and that you're working in towards the wrong side. Chain 1. And then we are just going to place a single crochet in each one of the sides of the double crochet rows all the way around. So you'll see there's a row, and we'll put one in the side there, and then we have the next row. So we'll put one there. And we will just do that all the way around. If you find that it's pulling a lot, or the stitches are very gappy, you can go ahead and just crochet evenly single crochets, or maybe put 1 or maybe put 2 per row, whatever you need to make it sit nicely. And once you've made your way all the way around to that first stitch, you're going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. And then we're going to finish this off with a second round, and that is going to be a round of crab stitch or reverse single crochet. So crab stitches worked exactly like a single crochet, only we're going to do it backwards. So we'll chain 1 just like you would any, but instead of going left and working into this first stitch, we're actually going to go right and work into that last stitch. So usually you would start here, we're here, but we're going to start here. So you'll go into the stitch and draw up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So just like you would do a single crochet, only we're going to go the opposite direction. All right, so again, we're going to work this direction. So we'll go into, so this is the one we just worked into. So now we'll go into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through both, and the next one. And you're just going to continue like that all the way around, and you'll see it starts to create this little textured edge to it. Now once you've made your way back around, you're just going to work into that last, or that technically first stitch of the row below, draw up a loop, and then sometimes you have to kind of flip it over to do this, but go ahead and slip stitch it to join, and then you can fasten off because you're done with this first edge. And you'll see that that reverse single crochet just creates this cute little twisted edge all the way around. So now we just need to do the same thing to our bottom edge. So again, flip it over, find a spot on the back, and attach your yarn. Chain 1, and begin to single crochet into the side of the rows around. And again, once you've made your way all the way around, join to that first stitch with a slip stitch, and that finishes your first round of your edge. And for your second round, you'll chain 1 and begin a round of crab stitch or reversed single crochet by, again, working single crochets but working backwards. And once you've made your way all the way around, you can go ahead and finish off the round by going into that last stitch or the first stitch from the previous round, draw up a loop, You have to give your hook a little bit of a twist and then slip stitch and fasten off. And that is our bottom edge all finished up. So all of the crocheting, unless you're going to crochet yourself a tie for here, is done, and you get this beautiful, simple but kind of open lacy texture, this cute little edge. I love the crop stitch edge. I use this on so many projects. It's such a like quick but like beautiful finish to any project, really. So the only thing that's left to do is to weave in our ends, and then I will show you how to lace your corset. Now that you have all of your ends woven in, the last thing that we need to do to complete our cowl is to lace up the corset detail. Now you can do this with something like ribbon. Probably 1/2 inch ribbon would be the best size for it. I've also used fake leather cord or suede cord, and it has a really cute look to it. I'm going to use this checkered ribbon on mine. If you don't have ribbon or cord or anything like that to do it, you can crochet yourself one. I have done this by simply going down a hook size. You don't want to use the 6.5, you want to use something like a 4mm or a 5mm, and then take yarn, worsted weight yarn is fine. I would do it in a contrasting color, a different color, but you could still do it in the same color if you want to. And you would just simply make a chain of 48 inches, and then you can do this with that instead. So I'm going to start by measuring out 48 inches of my ribbon. And there's 48 right there. It doesn't have to be exact. We're going to cut that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to lace this back and forth between our 2 lace stay rows that we created, just like you would a shoe. So I like to start in the very bottom ones. So I will put my hook in and pull one end through one side, usually going, bringing it from the outside, or from the inside out, sorry. From the inside out. So we'll pull that guy through, and then I'll pull the other end through on the other side from the inside out. I will make sure that my ends are even. Yep, close enough. Again, that doesn't have to be perfect, especially because you can like trim these up at the end. And then I will just begin to crisscross my ends, and from here I like to actually go the other direction so that it's going over the lace stay. And I generally skip, when I do this, I generally skip about 3 stitches. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, and I will go in to that 4th outside in this time, or whatever you prefer. If you prefer maybe the look of it going the other direction, that's fine too. And I'll pull that guy through all the way through there. And then same on this side, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, pull from outside in on that 4th one. And you can see that we're starting to create a crisscross effect. Now you could do it the other way this time. So now again, we're in this one, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and this time maybe go the other direction. Inside out, 1, 2, 3, inside out on this 4th one. And I like to not pull it too tight while I'm doing this part. I'm just kind of keeping it flat and neat, and then later you can make it tighter. So now we'll do it again. We'll cross, we'll skip 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll alternate again, outside in for this one. And on the other side, 1, 2, 3, outside in. You could skip less stitches in between and have a more condensed corset. You could skip more and have it go further if you wanted to. So 1, 2, 3. This time we'll go inside out. And we're just going to continue to do that in whatever style or pattern you like, all the way up. And then once you're at the top, I like to go to the very last one. And I like to make sure I do this one inside out so that when I tie the bow in the ribbon, 1, 2, 3, it is sitting on the outside. So I can tie it this way. And once you get there, you can kind of mess with and adjust. You can leave it loose like this so that you can really see especially if you have like a printed ribbon like this one, it looks really cute where you can do it loose. Or if you want to create a little bit of a cinch in your cowl, you can pull it a little bit tighter like this one is, and it just brings everything in really tight and gives it just a little bit of a different shape here. So I think I'll keep that a little bit looser and then go ahead and tie a bow up here at the top. And for this one, I think I'll keep the long tails. You could also cut those shorter, but that is the finished Janeway cowl. And I just think it's super cute. It's a comfy cowl. It's got the really pretty texture with those spike stitches, and then the holes in it give it this very pretty kind of lacy look, but when it's bunched up on your neck, it will still be warm. It's not too lacy, and this detail just gives it a little bit more charm and a little more interest than just a plain crochet cowl. Thanks for making the Janeway cowl with me. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to the video so that you'll get more when they come out. If you made a Janeway cowl, I would love to see it. You can tag me at woodland.stitchcraft on Instagram. And again, if you're interested in making this in a toddler or child size, or you'd like to make the hood or the hooded cowl version, you can find the patterns for all those for free on my blog, woodlandstitchcraft.com. Or if you're interested, you could always purchase the ad-free PDF version on Etsy, Ravelry, Lovecrafts, or Ko-Fi. The links to everything you need are down in the description.